What's up, guys? Getting a mortgage from a bank is difficult. It's not easy, not straightforward. I applied for a bunch of mortgages and I did not get them, and I finally was able to get one for my first property. It was a tough journey. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about 2 hurdles that I had to overcome in order to get my mortgage. Stick along. What's up, guys? My name is Dr. Safu Asante. I'm the successful IMG. I am an urgent care doctor that works in the US. I make videos on a regular basis to help doctors become successful and financially free. And that starts with getting into residency, because if you don't get into residency, you cannot practice medicine in the US, and that's all futile, your whole degree. So if you're having a difficult time getting into residency, contact me. If you know somebody that's having a difficult time getting into residency, have them contact me as well. My first mortgage for my first property in residency was a difficult time for me. I had a hard time trying to get that mortgage in the first place. I first started looking, I made a list of a whole bunch of banks, and I was just going to call all of them to try to see whether I qualify. And I called one after another, and they all basically turned me down. Every single one of them turned me down. And the first issue that I had was my debt to income ratio was basically insane. If you think about the kinds of debt that I had, which is all basically student loans. If you know, the average student loan debt that an American graduate from medical school carries is about $215,000. Mine was way above that. So when you look at that with the kind of salary that I was making in residency, it makes it very difficult to cover the mortgage as per the bank, because they look at it and they say, oh, you owe so much money. How are you going to pay your mortgage off if you owe so much money and you don't have any money left over at the end of the day? I kept trying, and it was like banging my head against the wall. I wasn't making any progress whatsoever. I don't know how I came about it. I was reading because I like to read stuff, and then I heard that there was something called a physician's loan. So I started looking more into it, and I said, wow, okay. With the doctor's loan, basically they don't look at your debt to income ratio, which is basically the amount of debt that you have and the income that you have, and you basically get a ratio, and it kind of tells you whether your debt is more than your income is more than your debt. Doctors' loans, they ignore the debt to income ratio for the most part, and they look at you in the future, because they know that you're going to be a doctor. They know that your earning power is going to increase significantly once you finish residency. You just have to make it through residency. They're more willing to give you the loan, but of course, your interest rates are a little bit higher, which is fine, but at least they are willing to look at you. So now, next thing I had to do was find banks that had these doctor's loan products, because not every bank has them. So I called around and I researched. I found a list on White Coat Investor, I believe it was, and that list had a whole bunch of banks. And I called a bunch of them, and they were saying no, they didn't have it. But then there was one bank that had it, and I spoke to them. It turns out that yes, they give out doctor's loans, but they don't give out doctor's loans on co-ops. So that was my second hurdle. I was trying to get a co-op, and co-ops are basically kind of like condos. They are apartments that you buy, but you don't own the apartment itself, you own a share. It's a little complicated, but we're not going to get into that, but whatever. I was trying to buy a co-op, and they don't loan on co-ops. So now I had to go back to drawing board. I had to keep looking and looking. I kept looking and looking. There was another bank on that list that did doctor's loans and also loaned on co-ops, so I was golden. But then I had to submit all my paperwork, all the money that I was making, my paychecks, my expenses, proof of this, proof of that, proof of this, proof of that. And that took some time, because they would send it back, they would ask questions, they would respond, and that took a couple of months. But then finally, I was able to get that loan. So the hurdles, even though it took some time, even though it was difficult to get with a doctor's loan, I was able to overcome some of the difficulties that I had trying to get a mortgage in residency. And it's the same thing for most of you if you're doctors. Most of you have student loans, especially if you went to school in the US. If you went to school outside the US, you might not have it, and you're lucky. I'm jealous. But make sure you hit the like button if you like the content. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Dr. Safu Asante out.